no one wants to live next to a vacancy, right? And so vacancy multiplies. And as it multiplies, the vacancy itself begins to sprawl. And when people have really easy options to move out to suburbs, or to move out to edges of the city, or rich parts of the city, or whatever, when those are easier choices than staying and fighting for your community, then people are going to make those choices.
I think the population here doesn't really sustain any sort of like long-term growth.
You've got tons of people that live and work downtown, and yet you never see any person on the street, right? When the only safe way to navigate your city is a car, then it doesn't matter how far away you live from your work.
There used to be a lot of shops down Capitol Street toward the governor's mansion. All of that is moved out to the shopping malls.
Suburb property isn't expensive enough yet to make people want to move back into the city.
If you do some type of pretentious thing where you're trying to make like a little Germantown like they did in Madison, it just seems false. And the people pick up on it even if it's a subconscious level.
People think that it's a sort of crime-ridden, you don't go there. I mean, I grew up in a suburb here, and I was told not to go here ever.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Because it's dangerous.
A lot of boarded up houses.
Basically a falling down building that was between me and a Walgreens. That's a Walgreens that's like 2 blocks from my house, and I don't walk there because I get creeped out by this, falling down building.
The abandoned property is not just contained by the property lines, but reaches out on the street and into the neighbors, and you really feel a sense of danger, a sense of loss.
What I see, a lot of homeless people will go in there like in the nighttime. They used to sleep on the bench, but now that these buildings are wide open, they'll be in there, raccoons. I think that they really need to do something about it.
When you call the action line, it was like they wrote down the address and maybe your name, and they didn't take a phone number, and they said they would pass it on to community development. Well, nothing was there. I got the feeling that nothing was ever done because every time I called back, it was like I was talking to somebody different, and they were just now hearing about this.
I'm really not sure what the city is doing about it. I see it on the news like once every 6 months.
When a property is like that in your neighborhood, it does depreciate your property value.
There's a lot of people who want to start things and move up to a place like Portland because they feel like they can be supported, or maybe they were frustrated about a place like Jackson. You're not needed in Portland as much as you're needed in a place like Jackson. The thing that makes this awesome to me is that because nobody's here, we have lower rent. We don't have to pay, $2,500 a month to, nobody wants it, so we want it.
It's like this place is malleable. I'm gonna come down here. It may not be where it is, where it's gonna be for me, but I can make it into that.
It's not dangerous. When I first started renting a space down here, I was driving down the street, and then I saw these kids, there were 8 or 9 kids playing in the front yard, with tricycles and doing kid stuff as they live here. This is just as much a part of their childhood as the street that I grew up on. Who am I to think I'm not safe here?
The big struggle that we're gonna face as we move forward is convincing people to take advantage of those vacant spaces as areas for innovation, creativity, for growing your own food.
If you want to start something here, you totally fucking can. There's all these abandoned warehouses, and if you've got enough capital to start your own vegan coffee shop, you can totally do that. Or if you wanted to start an anarchist bookstore, whatever it is that you wanted to do that you feel like there's way too many of them in other places, you could just do it here.
When food court moved in here, it was just a vacant grass lot that no one was really using. And before that, there used to be a couple of houses here that were used by people working on the railroad.
There's all these parking spaces and parking lots downtown taking up a lot of room. And maybe when those spaces are abandoned, we can use them for things like bike pulling, right? Which is fantastic. But when there's cars in them, we can't even use them for community building, right? We can't park a food truck where there's a parked car.
We used to walk at the Jackson Mall, which was the first mall in the area. And then it declined and all the anchor stores moved out, just like they did at Metro Center. And then they created the medical mall out there. And so that's kind of a booming area now that is once again thriving.
It's a different type of person who would say, I'm gonna look past this board of buildings and see what I really want to get out of this situation, which for me, it's studio space.
On a very basic level, people are here doing things. That's what brings energy, that's what brings activity.
Part of what a garden does is it beautifies a neighborhood and it creates a space that looks like it's taken care of.
So our plans to use this space, right? We're gonna take this grass and turn it into collard greens and garlic, probably within the next couple weeks.
I think the people who live in a community is what builds your community. We can't always depend on the city.
One of the things that they're trying to do a lot this year is get parents in for cooking classes and cooking with the ingredients that the kids are discovering in the garden.
We do newsletters once a month. We have neighborhood cleanup, help mow the elderly people's yards.
This day they were just digging, and then once they find the first sweet potato, it's like gold, and then they won't stop, you know? They're like, they want to go until the whole bed is empty. So that's really cool.
You have to just really come deep in, like this is in the deep, and a lot of people call it the ghetto, but this is where all the love is. You feel like you at home, like I'm going to mama's house, can I get some coffee? I want some eggs and grits, you know? You feel comfortable, nobody's just singling you out.
It's just like a really diverse group of people come together in a really rapid time frame to transform grass into food.
Everybody comes here, and it's a historical site also. It's a lot of people in the Alamo Theater to fix this up, and it brings a lot of attention, and a lot of people come to pictures like, oh, it's been here since 1961. So this is the best part of Fair Street, and this is what keeping Fair Street alive.
We had one teacher at Pecan Park Elementary who had a student who asked, Mr. Graham, are we growing rainbow chard this year? And you know, that's not something you expect a third grader to know what it is or be excited about growing. And so definitely things like that, we can see the effects of even just the first year of garden education.
Just beat our heads against the wall and be like, look at this shit, like, can you believe, like, we have this? Like, got some beer and knocked the ceiling out, and it was awesome. And then we made it into an art gallery because we could.
Just like time you hit Jackson, Mississippi, it's just like a shield comes over me. And I guess it's me being here all my life, but I love my community.
So you've got the Millsaps bubble, right, which is literally surrounded by a fence, and then you've got the Jackson State bubble and the Belhaven bubble and the Fondren bubble. But what would be really amazing is if we could find a way to permeate those bubbles. Because what's often in between them is abandoned space, right? What divides Millsaps from Belhaven is spaces like this. What if we could turn those vacant lands into connectors?